What's up, everybody? Welcome to this live talk. And today we're going to address a really interesting topic. I think something that we've been discussing already for the past few weeks, which is when healing requires authenticity. Right? What happens when we ignore our bodies? So there's a lot to it here. We're going to talk about authenticity. We're going to talk about healing with the big H. I'll be in conversation today with Anne-Marie Dior, who's a pain management coach. I am myself Pierre-Etienne Vanier, practitioner and the founder of the Healing Studio Online. Here you go. And Anne-Marie is like getting us started when healing requires authenticity. So let's Anne-Marie here. Welcome Anne-Marie, welcome Rena, welcome Lauren. Welcome to you.
Hi.
Hello.
Good morning. Good evening over there.
Good morning, good evening. Hello. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well. Plenty of things shifting, moving, changing. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's fun. And this conversation today is coming right in time. Perfect timing, as always.
Oh, awesome.
As always. What's up in LA? All good in LA?
Yeah, all good. It's already really sunny, which is nice.
Of course.
Yeah, make sure I take a walk around the neighborhood today and get out. Yeah.
All right. So we talked about here, we mentioned today's title is When Healing Requires Authenticity. Colin, what happens when we ignore our body? So before we go a little deeper, because there's so much to say here. And again, we'll try to keep it concise and to the point. Let's take a couple of breaths. For you, for me, for those joining us, in any way that feels more comfortable, with your eyes open, with your eyes closed. Maybe getting your day started, maybe ending your day, regardless of what's happening right now. Invitation to pause and to be. Take another couple of nice, slow, deep breaths in at your own pace. Yes. So, where to start? I feel like this is part 3 or
Yeah.
part 12 of our conversation right now, right? On
Yeah.
the connection to the body. So I feel like maybe we could start once again by clarifying what are these terms, right? And I want to welcome, Marlena here. Hi, Marlena. It's good to see you. Welcome, everybody. Let's, what do we mean by healing? What do we mean by authenticity? I mean, just this in itself we could be there for a while. Would you like to offer maybe your own personal sense of what these words mean to you?
Yeah, I can go ahead and start. Wow. I feel like my meaning of authenticity and healing has changed and it continues to evolve year and year or experience after experience because before, just coming from a physical therapy background, studied kinesiology in college and did sports, my whole thing with healing was injured, not injured.
Mm-hmm.
That's all healing was to me before, until I experienced chronic pain. And I realized that healing was much more than just a fracture or a structural issue, but healing is it's mind, body, and spirit. It all has to be aligned. And that's something that I have to redefine in my life every single day, actually every single day, and understanding what that means to me, what healing means to me, because the emotional experiences that we have, the way that I process things, the way that I respond to things, all has to do with the way that I'm healing and my ability to recognize that I'm not perfect right now and there's movement to be made in the way that I think, the way that I feel, the way that I connect with God, and the way that my body acts, the way it moves. So healing has been that is such a huge definition that I time and time again every day changes. And then when it comes to living authentically, that again, I feel like there are certain points in my life where that changes. It's not more of an everyday thing, but it does change in my life where, according to my values, according to the trials and tribulations that I have experienced, that my authenticity evolves. And I understand the way that I need to show up in my life, show up in other people's lives, and show up for God. And when I don't act in my calling, or when I am stubborn, or when I live in fear, which a lot of times when I'm not authentically myself, it's because of fear. And I've had to learn the hard way that fear is not a spirit that God gives us. And when I am living in fear, it is not authentically my divine person that is trying to heal. It's actually the opposite. It's me hindering myself. So, man, those
Oh,
two, those two.
oh,
Are,
let's go there. Let's go there. There's so much there's so much here. So for me here, I resonate deeply with that ever evolving cleansing of the hearts, and me owning it to myself, right? To be the the true version of myself. And this conversation, comes at a time where I've talked to quite a few people, and things are shifting for me. And you've mentioned that word alignment, right? And mind, body, spirit. There's a sense here for me of integration. We spoke of healing as so many of us have a limited understanding of healing. And it's just like you said, it's like, well, I feel okay, I don't feel okay. I'm fully functional, I'm not fully functional. That dichotomy, that's like, it's just, oh, it's this or that, and yet it's so much more complex. And that almost, want to bring the challenging thoughts that, who said that when you're sick, you're not actually healing? Right. And I'm saying that as a reminder to myself, like these challenges, who am I to say that these are not an opportunity for me to actually, right, become that truer version of myself,
right.
to go through that fire, right, and to come out of that fire on the other side a different person. So for me, healing with the big H, like you said, like I'm hearing from you, has become such a prominent part of my life, because I feel like this is it. Like, what else? What else would I want to focus my time and energy on, rather than really discovering myself? And by discovering myself, I really, right, resonate with what you were saying, which is, by discovering myself, I'm discovering my own divinity. Right. I had a long conversation with a friend and coach, Anissa Lalahoum, from the Les Artisans. She works primarily in French. And she reminded me once again here that divinity comes through the body, comes through the humanity, and that humanity comes from the body. And so the question is really here, what is my relationship to the body? To understand my relationship to myself, to understand my relationship to the divine. Because if I'm mistreating myself, if I'm mistreating my body, and God knows I've been there, and every now and then I go back, right, into like being, right, less than what I could be, or forgetting that I have the courage and the resources to be who I could be, then I'm really saying, I'm not that divine. I'm not that amazing spirit, right? I'm not, like Master Rumi would say, that ecstatic the universe in ecstatic motion, that the masters reminded us, saying like, hey, stop playing so small here, right?
Yeah.
And so the healing, I think, I'm so grateful that we start that conversation with a well, let's remember there's a there's an opportunity here to connect to something so much greater than just the cells, right?
Yeah.
Because the total amounts so much more than just the sum of this, right?
Mm.
And so when I come into this sense of alignment and that sense of presence, oh, it's like, all
Yeah.
right, there's healing just in that ability of being present. So I'm glad we're starting with that. Am I making sense here?
You're making total sense. And something that came up in my head when you said, other than focusing on just the cells, is the scripture that I read this morning that just comes into, it's just in alignment, that word again, with what we're speaking about. And I realized that the second that I decided that I was no longer going to focus on my flesh and the pain that I was feeling in my flesh and become so involved in what was happening just in my body, and when I decided that my healing needs to come from my spiritual self, from who I am within my divine self, that's when I began to feel better. And I began to live in this life better and live around others better. And in turn, I wasn't ignoring myself, and I wasn't pushing myself to these limits where I was harming myself or making bad decisions, because I started there first. I stopped focusing here and I started focusing in my head and my heart and in God. And that's where I found, that's where my body was able to start feeling better and manage itself better and not slap me in the face or keep me on the floor for hours.
And yet, if I may be the devil's advocate, isn't there a danger of spiritual bypass or in the process of disconnecting from the body? Because we both work with people, right, dealing with chronic pain. We've both had the experience of dealing with chronic pain. Correct me if I'm wrong. We both reminded every now and then potentially of what it means, right? And so number one, isn't that fear and that pain the impulse that at times we need, right, for us to actually do the work, for us to actually reconnect? Because here I feel like, and I may be projecting here on sometimes my own lack of space and bandwidth, right, to get in touch with that pain, mental, physical, emotional, all of it. And I see people here, and I see myself at times saying, I'm just gonna go spiritual, and I'm gonna check out from the body. I'm gonna disconnect from the body,
Oh no,
and
that's not.
I'm gonna go into right. And I'm gonna go into affirmations, prayers, and whatever you want to call it. And that saddens me because I also see then a growing gap, right? There's like a growing disconnect and dissonance. Um, and I'm moving away from the alignment because the body is
Yeah,
saying, listen, be
yeah,
with me, right?
yeah.
Pay attention and let's hold that. Let me process it. Let me move it. We're gonna rise, right? There's an opportunity here, but for as long as you think that, there's I'm the portal. I feel
Yeah,
like the body says, I'm the portal.
yeah.
Listen to me, pay attention, and then I'll guide you. And that's such
And
a
that's very
challenging
true.
thought for many people who, were experiencing physical pain, where there is a sense of like, I
Mm,
don't trust that portal. I don't trust my body anymore.
yeah. Yeah, and you know what? With that, like, my cycle, where I feel like it started was push, push, push. I was doing the things that I was not aligned with my core values. I was pushing myself too hard. I was trying to live up to certain expectations. And then I'll find myself not able to move on the floor for over an hour. And I kept fighting it, and I kept saying, no, I'm better than this. I'm bigger than this. I'm stronger than this. And as soon as my legs would start working again, I would be at it again. And when I finally decided later on, many times later, that laying on the ground and being alone, or wanting to just be alone and shutting other people out was not the way that I want to live. And that in turn, the physical aspect of my body, yeah, my body was telling me this isn't in alignment. You're pushing me too hard. Mm-hmm. Also, it had become the reason more so that I was disconnected. And it was like this negative cycle. And when I decided these things that I'm doing to push myself too hard and too much, these things that I'm doing is not aligned with what my spirit is telling me, what my mind is saying. And also with the pain, I had become this negative machine with all of these thoughts that were going through my head and catastrophizing. And so that healing had to start when I started listening and being aware, like, I'm doing too much. This isn't aligned. I shouldn't say these things to myself. Why am I saying should? Why do I have these expectations? And when I decided that I need to heal from bottom up and top up together, basically, I need to heal these thoughts. I need to heal my heart. And when I heal my heart and these thoughts, then my body can feel safer. And when my body feels safer, then I'll make wiser decisions as far as what I should be doing in this body every single day. And when I make those wise, informed, and heartfelt and compassionate decisions, then my body won't be so upset at me, and it will start to act in alignment with the healing that I've done from mind and spirit. And that's when my alignment came. It was slap in the face, not doing the right work, then recognizing, oh, this work has made me become a negative person and has kept me further away and dragged me into this fear mindset. And when I realized, when everything had crumbled in my life, when I realized my body and spirit were crumbling, then I did have to start personally. I had to start with, please God, help me. And where do I need to change? And I first had to change with my mind and my spirit, and then my body.
And right, and here comes the surrender, right?
Yeah.
And the absolute faith in the capacities, the abilities, the resources that are there. When something I found myself repeating a lot is that I'm designed to heal, you're designed to heal, we're designed to heal. And every time I say it, I almost want to take a pause in awe, and also out of respect for people to be able to come back to that truth, because many people are not there. Many people have forgotten their own abilities. And when I say people, I'm really saying myself here. And so as a reminder, I think you mentioned safety, and that really hit like a chord here. Because that's oftentimes why we don't connect to our bodies, right? As a reminder, I'm in conversation with Amari today around when healing requires authenticity, what happens when we ignore our bodies, and why would we ignore our bodies? Which is a question I ask myself often. I'm like, why am I doing this? Right? Why am I not more present, caring, loving, honest, vulnerable? Right? And so the authenticity here, as far as I see it, requires safety. If I'm going to be authentic, if I'm going to be vulnerable, if I'm going to just look within, I need that space. Right? I personally need that space. I need to know that if it's just me, or ideally if I'm surrounded, right, by people who are helping me and holding me, and vibrating with me and help me to just hold that vibration, to hold that emotion, to hold that sensation, that experience, that hurt, that trauma, whatever you want to call it, right? I think the safety is crucial. And I think that's why at times, and many people, we're going to ignore our bodies because one, it's scary. At times, some of us may have had difficult experiences. And two, let's face it, we're not living in a society, that reminds us to do it. We live in a society that's very cognitive based, that's just all in your mind. As long as you say something, you can do anything. And it's all about really the mere fact that when we talk about health, we talk about there's physical health and there's mental health. It's like, oh, like there seems to be I think we're missing the point, right? And we've pulled it apart in like so many ways, and we've forgotten to say, well, actually, it's bringing all of this in alignment within a context of safety and authenticity and vulnerability that will allow me to reconnect to my body. And by reconnecting to my body, that's where miracles happen.
Amen.
And I reminded to myself, it is that question: do I believe in miracles? Right? Because I want to believe in miracles, and at times I'm like, yeah, I believe in miracles, and I see miracles. And even though I see miracles, at times I'm like, there's still that ego saying, yeah, but that was because blah 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 blah. Right? When truly, if I was to come back and humble myself and be like, yeah, straight up, this what just happened with that person is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Are you following me?
I'm following you. Yeah. And you're so right about the disconnection nowadays in Western medicine, where you go, if you have pain in the mind, you go focus on the mind. If pain in the body, you just focus on the body. And so many times with more and more people that I speak with more and more clients that I work with the more times that I reflect on my own growth, I see that safety has to come. You're totally right. That safety has to come mind, body, and spirit. Because a lot of times what happens is the unsafety that we feel in the world around us, and maybe just within ourselves, that lack of self-love and compassion, however it may have formed, whether it's trauma or stress or just a reaction to something that when you needed the most support and you got a negative reaction, whatever it might have been that caused the unsafety, when that builds up, our body will remember those memories. Our body will keep that score. Our body will be the ones to say, no, I can't live this way. We can't live. This isn't the authentic way you're supposed to be living right now. This is not a healthy way that we're supposed to be living right now. So I need to stop. And in turn, what happens when our body doesn't feel safe is that it does stop us in our tracks. It does keep us as a coping mechanism away from people, away from things, away from doing activities. And in turn, that negative cycle, we start to truly believe in that fear, and it takes over the head and then takes over the spirit. And so recapturing that safety and recognizing, this is fear. This isn't hope. This isn't nice to myself. I don't deserve this. I deserve the compassion and love. And if I can give it to others, I can give it to myself. And being able to understand that we need to reclaim safety, mind, body, and spirit, to feel better, to function and live in our purpose. Safety is like the key thing to being able to live authentically and to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of safety, what I'm also thinking of, because you say that, for many of us, and again, right, instead of just talking about people, I that's why I keep on coming back to myself, not to be self-centered, but just to, really be honest with myself and with everybody here. Living out of fear is such a constricting, whether it's fear of scarcity, fear of disconnection, fear for myself, for not being loved, and so on and so forth. Um, that in itself, right, can create disconnection. But I'm also seeing so many people, because we've lived for so long in fear, then we're not hearing when there's actual dangers, right? Like how many of us have done stupid shit, like when it's like, oh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and that dark alley right there, that looks okay, and the alarm sender in the body is saying, no, don't do it. But because it does that all the time,
Yeah.
for some of us, it's like in that moment, yep, I'm just gonna take that dark alley. And that dark alley can be a metaphor for, right, for a relationship, for a job, for anything in your life, where it's like, I'm basically not seeing the red flags anymore. And so here, like you said, being able to go back and listening to these cues. I'm reflecting, personally, and I've been reflecting intensely lately on my evolution, and I'm so grateful that it started so much with like, well, we're gonna, steal your mind and meditate and do this and that. And then I was like, oh, no, 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 no. Actually, it's in the body. Get into the body, pay attention to the sensation. And then eventually I started slowly to realize like, oh, no, it's actually all of the above. It's all of the above, because if we engage all of this mind, body, spirit, there's safety there.
Yeah.
That's a reminder to myself, to you, to all of us listening. And it's the concept of safety from within, which one of my, a client recently really hit, like that was very touching, because she was like, oh, I wasn't familiar with that concept of safety from within. And that was a reminder also from her to me, as in like, why am I looking for safety everywhere, where truly there won't be any safety unless I find it from within? And I hate to sound cliche, but that is my own personal experience. And in that moment of like stillness, we spoke about surrender earlier.
Yeah.
It's in my own surrender. When if you look at it from the standpoint of your nervous system, there's no more activation. It's just like, I surrender. This is it. And you spoke of imperfection and the perfection of that imperfection. Like in that moment, this is what's supposed to happen, and the nervous system stops activating. And when our nervous system is not activating anymore, what happens? The miracles that we talked about, the healing that we talked about, the healing with the big H, that alignment that we talked about, which is like, actually, you know what? I'm okay. I may be in pain. I may be dealing with, health challenges. I may be dealing with a whole bunch of things, but in that moment here, oh yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And what a gift. What a gift to give to yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Definitely. It's beautiful. It made all the difference for me, and it continues to. Yeah.
All right. I'm looking at the time.
Yeah.
We're going to the 30-minute mark.
Yes.
Anything else you'd like to mention? Would you like to mention, maybe talking about safe spaces? Anything you'd like to mention?
Thank you, Pierre. Yes, safe spaces. So you guys tuning in today, every Tuesday at 8 a.m., you can find us here on Healing Studio Online, live on Instagram, talking about healing and pain management. I also have opened a free support group online community gathering that happens every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. It's just on Zoom. You can click the link in my bio, Body of More Wellness, and you can join just with a simple name and email. I can't wait to see you all next week. Thank you, Pierre, and I will let you add on to that.
And here, just invitation, everybody. If anything that was said today, resonated with you, if you'd like to go a little deeper, to stay in conversation with us and in practice with us, because let's face it, again, this is not here. It's about getting into the practice. Sign up for the newsletter. I know myself, I'm leading a whole bunch of circles, whether it's for people dealing with a cancer diagnosis, 6 long programs, short programs, funded by different hospitals. Look it up on the Healing Studio Online. Also a call to all my brothers, all the men out there who are like, that healing stuff, right? I don't know about it. Well, if you don't know about it, but you resonate with it, join us. There is so much work that needs to be done for us men to deal with our masculinity and our, and I want to say the wounds, you know, related to our masculinity that in turn that turns into something toxic, right? And so for all the brothers and the men out there who want to do the work, um, hit us up. We'll talk about it together. Marie,
Awesome.
thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank you, Gary.
everybody, for joining us today. We'll see you again. See you next week.
See you. Bye.
Bye.